Good morning, Pirate Nation. This is Mr. Logan, your post-secondary transition specialist. Just checking in, we're here this morning for our first launch event with College AIM, where we'll be focusing on early action and early decision for our class of 2023. And we have also Mrs. Amy Stokes, our new full-time person with College AIM as well, that's helping us lead this effort. This is an exciting day, and we're looking forward to our seniors graduating and moving on to their next step. Thank you.
I know you don't mean to be offensive or anything. So this morning, we're not going to be here long, the counselors, just in case some of you guys don't know who we are. If you're new, we want to remind you all that we, of course, we counsel by last name. I'm A through E. Mr. Ben Levy is F through M, and Mrs. Harris is N through Z. So we want to personally come down and thank College AIM, thank Mr. Logan for working with them so diligently over the years. We've had a few College AIM students, and in our haste, it's a great program. You guys are truly blessed, and you've heard me say this a few times in teams or whatever, but again, I say it every year, but saying it for over 20-something years now. This is the last time you're going to have this number of adults working for you for free. After this year, people will work for you, but to have all of these resources in place at one time, it doesn't happen like this. But because you're taking advantage of this, it's going to work out better for you. Because the day after graduation, all of the adults can tell you, they can tell you that this is true. Well, maybe not for some of you all, but most of you all, you're going to have that feeling of, that's it. So there's no more lunch, there's no more teacher telling me whatever, there's no counselor in the middle of this, there's no whatever. A lot of it is strictly on you. So please take advantage of this service. And the reason we're so excited is because, you know, they understood the assignment at College AIM. We've had a few kids, but last school year, Mr. Logan and Dr. Sheffield, they invited us to come and see our students who were participate in the ceremony, the closing ceremony. So of course, it was beautiful. Many of our students, they'll talk about their stuff, but many of our students did well, got scholarships. They're doing what they said that they were going to do. But then I saw McNair High School. Love McNair. I was a Mustang before I was a pirate. So I love McNair. Thought I would be there forever. Bought my house not too far from McNair, thinking I'd be there forever. Then I had the privilege, and I've been blessed to be at Stone Mountain. This is my 10th or 11th year. So when I saw all I have to say is, when I saw McNair's whole class was a part of College AIM, I was asking Mr. Logan and Dr. Sheffield and Mr. Sam, I would say Sam because it's their last name, I don't want to mess it up, but I asked them, and they were like, yeah, we're thinking about it, so they agreed to pretty much almost include our whole class in College AIM. So all we wanted to do this morning is to say thank you to them, but also to give you all a few quick updates about how we're going to be working together for some things that are coming up. First, they're going to talk to you about College AIM or whatever, but in conjunction, we want to make sure that you're aware of a few things. Number one, make sure that you're always checking your school email, because you're going to get a lot of emails from the counseling office, fast and furious, some about Naviance, about Common App. They'll talk to you about all of that kind of stuff, scholarships, upcoming dates, all of that, whatever. Make sure you're checking your email. The second thing is, when we have our big group, we're going to, if not next week, the following week, just because we have a lot going on in terms of you guys having field trips. Mr. Logan will talk to you about that. We're going to have our big group senior meeting. That'll be the general senior advisement, followed by your individual senior advisement meetings with your counselors. So those will go from September through like the middle of October, where we'll meet with you all individually. But the reason we do this first in the group is because deadlines come up, and then by the time deadlines come, we will not have met with you guys individually. So that's why we want to make sure the whole group gets everything. Also, a few things, make sure you look at our website. I don't know how many of you all really look at the counseling website, but it's really, really nice, especially if you, a lot of the things that you really want, they're already up there. For example, contacting the counseling office. Yes, there are 3 of us, but there are 1,200 of you all. So even though the seniors, yes, you're the most important in the building, you're not the only people in the building. So we have to get to everybody's schedules. And when they say you can't see the counselor at the moment, it's just because it's not that we don't want to see you. We just really have to, you have to prioritize. So again, that's why College AIM is such a major blessing for us here. So with that also being said, go to the website. There's a contact the counselor. There are scholarships that are on there that is updated for a few of you guys who will be doing dual enrollment second semester. That kind of thing is up there. All kinds of stuff on the website, checking whether what you all are. Of course, you're on track. That's, you know, this is the group that we're talking about with right here. But a few other things: SAT, ACT waiver process for Stone Mountain. I'm not sure about you guys with waivers. I guess if you do that, you let them know. But the way that we do it, let's Mr. Logan have been handling it for us. Now that we have our administrative assistant, she'll be the person who'll be emailing you the waiver links. We're going to keep that still electronic unless we still have to do ACT paper waivers. So that'll be on the website. Brag sheets. This is important. Mental note is not on the website now, but one of the things that happens with students with recommendations, and we always get really busy and we forget to do this, but we have a framework now. You have to give us 10 business days if you need a recommendation for whatever. So we'll have the brag sheet, even though your brag sheet is in Naviance, it's one of your tasks or whatever, you're gonna have to fill that out for us to do your recommendations in Naviance, recommendation for whatever, and we need 10 business days. Not, you know, it's due Monday and you email me 2 in the morning, Sunday, as if I'm supposed to have it when you get it here 7:45 a.m. It has to be 10 business days. So because if you don't, then I'll say, oh, Lydia's a nice girl. She is really sweet. I really think she'll do a good job. She's nice with animals, okay, because I don't have the brag sheet. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's why we need you to fill it out, and you need to brag about you. It's just that important. So make sure that you know that. And my last thing is, there was one other point. Okay, that was it. That was it. But again, the contact the counseling link is live up there. If you go to the website, at the bottom it says contact us, so you can contact any person on the in the counseling office, and of course Mr. Logan and Ms. Stokes, they'll tell you how they want to be reached as well. So thank you guys, and we'll turn it over to Dr. Sheffield.
Thank you.
All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, so I think I had an opportunity to meet some of you last year when I did some push-ins to Mr. Schue's class and a few other classes. But again, my name is Dr. Sheffield, and I currently serve as the Program Director for Post-Secondary Access for College AIM. So I've primarily worked with the students at McNair High School, and of course, you know, College AIM, my colleague, will basically be working with you guys every single day here in the building at Stone Mountain. So, first off, congratulations on making it to your senior year of high school. Within a few short months, you guys will be walking across that stage and being adults, right? And so one of the reasons that we wanted to get together this morning is that we wanted to get in front of you as soon as possible to talk a little bit about your college application process. So based on the individual in this room, you pretty much represent somewhat the top percentage of the students in your senior class for the most part. And so that pretty much means that your college application process is going to look a lot differently than a lot of your peers. So we want to basically make you aware of a couple of things that you need to be doing during this process, just to make sure that you are starting out on the right foot. When you are applying to schools and applying to college, you have to understand that you have to know how to play the game, and that's what we're here for. Many of you that are in this room, based on where you are academically, you have the academic numbers to be looking at selective institutions, right? That's not saying that you have to apply to those institutions, but everybody in this room meets the criteria academically to apply to selective institutions. And that is so much bigger than just a transcript and an application and test scores, and here's my application. It's so much more than that, right? And so one of the things that we wanted to do is to have a conversation and talk about why it's important, why do you do certain things during this process to make you stand out, and how to be aware of these things. So the very first thing we want to talk about is definitely match and fit. So match and fit is pretty much what we consider in the college access community. That is what we call the foundation of college counseling, right? So when you met with Mr. Logan or you met with College Amy, one of the very first things is that we have a discussion with you about is your academic credential, your academic profile. And so when we talk about match, we're basically trying to identify, we're looking at your academic profile to determine which institutions you are going to be selective and competitive for. That is why we need to be able to understand where your GPA, the type of AP classes you've taken, if you've taken any dual enrollment classes, because we need to be able to determine if you are going to be competitive and selective enough for some of the institutions that you are applying to. So that is the match component. And so match is not the only factor that goes into the colleges, you looking at or identifying schools that you want to apply to. The second component of this is what we call fit. Raise your hand if you know what fit means. College fit.
Like the outfit? Like the fit?
The fit, like the fit, right? So when we talk about fit, fit is pretty much coming from you. So it's basically asking you, what are those things that you want in an institution? So are you looking for a certain level of diversity? Are you looking for a certain major? Are you looking for things in a certain area? Urban, rural, those are all things in terms of fit. School size, all of those things that are special to you. You have to ask yourself, what do I want in a college? Because college is not one size fit all. There's a big difference between an environment at like Emory University versus UGA. There are two different types of institutions, right? Yes, they are both selective, but again, there are two different types of institutions. So begin to ask yourself and have the conversation like, what do I truly want, right? Because when I'm meeting with a lot of students and I ask that question, the room goes silent because a lot of students have not thought about this process. What do I truly want in a school? Do I want an HBCU? Do I want a HSI? What are you truly looking for, right? And so those are things that that's the conversation that you have to have with yourself to really kind of figure out what is going to be the best environment for me when I leave the walls of Stone Mountain High School. So when we talk about the whole concept of match and fit, the whole idea is that we are really trying to marry the two to really kind of bring in this whole wonderful list of institutions that you are going to be able to apply to. And so I'm pretty sure that you came into this senior year with a list that you may have already had in your head. Some of you may have had a list, some of you may have not. But our job as college counselors is number one, to expose you. And to make sure that you are aware of the institutions that that could be really good matches and fits for you based off of the conversations that we have throughout this year. So we want to make sure that you are aware of these institutions and bringing them to your attention. And so that's what we're here for. That's what Mr. Logan is here for, your counselors, as well as College Amy, just to make sure that you are aware of some of the schools that could potentially be really good matches and fit for you. I could say just about being in College Access, a lot of students that I meet with and a lot of institutions that they end up going to, they end up going to institutions that they were not familiar with at the beginning because they typically only wanted to apply to or from schools that they were either popular or familiar with. The Georgia States, the Howard, Spelman, Morehouse, that's what was popular and familiar. But again, you have to realize that there is an entire world out there. The Brandeis, the George Washington, the UCLA, all these great institutions all across the nation that you could be really good matches and fit for. You just have to be exposed to them and the opportunities that they have. All right, so of course, what is a selective institution? A selective institution is basically one that has a very competitive admissions standards and a very low acceptance rate because of its highly recognized name or top academic programs, right? So examples of these, of course, are UGAs, your Emorys, your Dukes, Spelman, Davidson. All of these institutions are considered to be selective or highly selective institutions. So again, every single person in this room is academically qualified or competitive enough to be applying to some of these institutions, right? So let's talk about selectivity. So this is typically a chart that I show a lot of students to really kind of help them understand what type of schools you should be looking at based on where you are academically. So on the top, you basically see the GPAs, and of course on the left-hand side, you see the ACT scores, the ACT scores. And so what that does, what that shows you is that based on GPA, I want to point this out. Regardless of your test scores at this point in the game, every person in this room should be applying to selective and very selective colleges and universities. And the reason I say that regardless of test scores, there are so many institutions that have now transitioned to test optional admissions process, right? Test optional means just that. It is what? Optional. So if you feel like your test scores are not strong enough to apply to the institution, then don't submit them. Of course, now if you need guidance on that, that's what we are here for. we are basically able, we can look at your test scores and compare that to the test scores of the incoming students at the institution to let you know whether or not it is a good idea for you to submit your scores or not. But again, it doesn't hurt you for you to not submit your score. In many cases, if your scores are not strong, it is actually going to help you, right? And so the whole, for a lot of your selective colleges and universities, the whole test score piece is no longer an equation, part of the equation. Now, here's a caveat to that. If you are trying to stay in the state of Georgia, it is part of the equation. So, unfortunately, we live in Georgia, and Georgia at this point in 2022, they are not ready to adopt a test optional admissions policy. We are working on it. We are trying to have conversations with legislation, trying to see what we can do. But as of right now, USG is still requiring test scores. So if you are trying to look at a UGA or Georgia Tech, you have to submit your test scores, and your test scores do need to be where they be strong for the most part. Now again, when we talk, both of these institutions use what we call holistic admissions process, which basically means that it's not just about your GPA and your test score, but at the same time, test scores are still an important factor for those institutions, okay? So let's talk a little bit about what we're here to talk about, which is early action and early decision. So early action and early decision are what we call application types. So when you actually go in and start working in your college applications, they give you several options, ways to apply. You can apply to an institution regular decision. Regular decision basically means that you are applying to the institution by the regular deadline, and of course you will be notified of your decision, typically by April or March of 2023. Now, one of the reasons that we are highlighting the conversation around early action and early decision is because it is going to be of an advantage to you if you actually apply to an institution via early action or early decision. Now here's the thing, the easiest way to explain this is that early action is non-binding, early decision is binding. So early action basically means that if on my application I select the early action date, right? And I get admitted into this institution, I am not obligated to attend the institution. It is great that I have been admitted, but I still have my options at the end of the day, and I can weigh my decision. So it is a non-binding decision where I don't have to go. Early decision basically means that if you apply to an institution that is early decision, it is a binding contract, which basically means that you should know that this is the institution for you, and that it is a high institution for you. You know you've done all the research, you visited, you've done ... This is where I want to go. That's the institution that you do, right? It is a binding decision. So a lot of students tend to do one or the other, or both, right? You can apply to one school, or you can only apply to one school through early decision, right? Because again, you've identified this as your top choice, and when you were signing that contract, you're basically stating that if I get admitted into this institution, I am going to take it, and I will be going in the fall, right? So you can only apply to one institution via early decision, but you can apply to as many via early action because it is not a non-binding process. One of the reasons why we're having this conversation is because it is going to be a distinct advantage for you to possibly apply to these institutions, either early action or early decision. So let's talk about the why. Many colleges and universities are actually filling up most of their slots, their freshman slots, via early action and early decision. By show of hands, how many of you have heard of Tulane University in Louisiana? Okay, so Tulane University is a very selective institution, right? Last year, Tulane accepted maybe 95% of their freshman class through early decision. They only accepted 103 students through regular decision. So it is going to be really in your advantage if you know that you've done the research and you know that this is the institution for me. By all means, please consider doing early action or early decision. But again, early decision is not for everybody. So what this chart actually shows you is what I just spoke about. And so this is a chart from 2016, and you see at the top right, it shows you the legend. The blue-green shows you the EDEA admit rate. The purple shows you the regular admit rate. And so basically what you see there is that for each of these institutions, or for most of these institutions, you will see that they filled up the acceptance rate for most of these institutions came from early action, and early decision. So again, what that does show the institution, it shows something called demonstrated interest, which I'm going to talk a little bit about later on in the presentation. And those are ways that you stand out to these institutions. The institutions want to know that you truly want to be there, or are you just applying because someone told you to apply? Okay? And they want to make sure that you are really trying to be there in the first place. So again, one of the best ways in order for you to show some type of demonstrated interest is by you applying early, whether it be early action or early decision. But again, you have to figure out what type of program is going to be best for you. Again, because early action is a non-binding program, go ahead, go forward. If we've reviewed your academic profile and feel like you are a good candidate for early action, it's non-binding. Go forward. Early decision, that is one that you have to have many conversations with yourself and your parents and your counselors in this building. Because we don't want to make the mistake, or for you to make the mistake of signing some type of documentation and entering into some type of contract that you are not ready for and your parents aren't ready for. Does everybody understand that? Perfect. All right, so who should apply early? First and foremost, you have researched the colleges extensively. And so when I say research the colleges, I don't mean you just glancing over the website. I need you to dig. I need you to have conversations with professors if necessary. I need you to go to the website and dig specifically into the program offerings. What do the support systems look like? What is student life like? What is security like? Think about the things that are important to you. We're not just talking about a skim here. Again, research the colleges extensively. Secondly, you have found a college that is a strong match academically, socially, and geographically. So do they check all three of those boxes for you? You meet or exceed the admissions profile for the college SAT scores. This one is an iffy, right? So again, depending on the institution, that whole SAT score thing may not even be a factor anymore. Next one, if you have an academic record that has been consistently solid over time. So when we say consistently solid, so let's say, for example, if you've done well your freshman, your sophomore year, but let's say last year you took a dip and you know you may need a strong set of senior grades, applying early might not be where you want to be, okay? Unless there is some type of reasoning that you can explain in your application, okay? If your counselor says so, please do it. The reason I say that because we've been doing this for a long time, and we kind of know if you are going to read well in the academic process, right? In the application process. So we are going to advise you to do early action. Please listen carefully, okay? Who should not apply early? If you have not thoroughly researched your college. If you are applying early just to avoid stress and paperwork, if you are not fully committed to attending the college, please don't apply to a school that you know you don't want to go to. What I've seen over time, you apply to schools because your friends are applying. What does that have to do with anything? You applying because your boyfriend or girlfriend is applying? No, don't do that. Okay? So just be mindful of where you're applying. There needs to be a reason and a purpose for a school truly being on your list. If you know that you truly don't see yourself there, then why are you applying? It is a waste of your time and your efforts, right? And next thing, if you need a strong set of senior grades, and of course, if your counselor says not to, of course, do what? Listen. All right. Any questions on that? All right. Special note on applying ED. We advise students to apply ED only when the college in question is by far your first choice, and that's a big and, when the family is not price sensitive, meaning that the family is willing to forego the possibility of comparing pricing. So let's say, for example, you all your life you have wanted to go to University of Florida, right? That's just where you want to go, right? And here you are, your senior year, and you said that you want to apply early decision to University of Florida. That's great. We're going to have the conversation of, okay, whether it's going to be a really good fit for you, right? And if the thing about this is, historically, for an out-of-state student, University of Florida has not been is not known for giving the best financial aid packages, right? And so again, if you know that your family is if you are price sensitive, which means that you need some money to go to school, right? Applying to an institution like that is not going to be the best thing for you, because if you do get accepted and they give you that award letter and they say you got to come out of pocket $20,000, do you have $20,000 for 1 year? So those are conversations that you have to have about this process before you sign that contract and before you start thinking about applying early decision. You don't want to enter any type of situation where you know that you are not going to be successful. And we're not setting you up for success if we don't have those conversations with you. Okay? But of course, the benefits of applying early, it definitely kind of reduces the stress because you're getting it done early. What I've typically seen in the past, a lot of seniors try to wait till May, June, or even April to try to do college applications. Really, you should be done with your college applications by December or January. You should be done, checked, done. Your only focus is just trying to graduate and get up out of here, right? So, of course, it reduces that stress. It saves the time and expense of submitting multiple applications. You gain more time once accepted to look at housing and otherwise prepare for college. So again, typically when you apply to school via early action, you typically are notified of your decision by December or early January. So again, that gives you more time to really kind of do some of those other things, like look at some of the housing options, whether on campus or off campus, but it gives you more time to kind of do some more research. And of course, reassess options and apply elsewhere if you're not accepted. I have to make this statement. There are no guarantees in selective college admissions. Let me say that again. Just because we are saying that you have a strong academic profile, but there are a lot of kids all across the nation that have a strong academic profile. And so you may be admitted to an institution, you may not. But again, our job is to make sure that we are preparing you and prepare your application to shine through that application process. But still, there are no guarantees in this admission process, right? So sometimes you have to reassess your options if you are not accepted elsewhere. But that's the whole point of us really trying to build a quality list of schools so that we won't have to go through this process later on, trying to figure out something at the last minute, okay? Special access college access program. So, of course, how many of you by show of hands are familiar with QuestBridge? Okay, so last year we had a QuestBridge scholar in the building. So QuestBridge is an amazing scholarship program that allows students to apply or look at multiple institutions and at an opportunity for a full ride scholarship for 4 years. It is an amazing scholarship. Now, the other thing about QuestBridge is that it is early decision. And so if you look at the institutions that are on QuestBridge and you know that you have no interest in applying it, no interest at all, or if you feel like none of these institutions are going to be a fit for you, you have to have a conversation with yourself and of course your conversation with your college counselor. So again, just don't apply for programs just because you feel like it may be an opportunity for free money. Don't do that again, because again, we don't want you to go into an institution that is not a fit, because typically what we see students doing or applying, transitioning or enrolling in institutions that are not fits for them, they end up transferring or dropping out. The whole point in this is we want to get this right the first time. And so it kind of goes back to that initial questioning, what do you want in a college? What do you want your college environment to look like? But again, going back to QuestBridge, for those of you that have done some of that research on some of these institutions and you feel like QuestBridge is going to be a good opportunity for you, that is what we're here for. So Mr. Logan, I think is working with some students as well, as of course College Amy. Now is the time to do that. The deadline for QuestBridge is September the 25th. So I believe when Amy is meeting with you guys individually, she may ask you the question, have you considered QuestBridge? Do you feel like early decision is a program that you may want to apply to? Again, these are conversations that you have to have with yourself, okay? Other special college access programs. So in the past, many of the selective colleges and universities offer what we call college fly-in programs. By a show of hands, how many of you have had an opportunity to do a college tour? Okay, so not everybody. So many of these institutions, let's say for example, Brandeis has a college fly-in program where they actually allow students or bring students up to the campus to kind of get a feel for whether this is going to be a great college for me. And so the best way to determine college fit, to figure out if you're going to like it or not, is by setting foot on their college campus. It's really kind of hard to get a feel for something through a website. You can only learn and soak in so much through a screen, right? But when you set foot on that college campus, it means so much more. And so there are a number of college fly-in programs that are actually open right now, which most of them typically have deadlines of around September, October, right? And so if you are interested in some of those fly-in programs, you know who to talk to, because she has access to them, okay? Posse Foundation. Of course, the Posse nomination process is already over, but congratulations, I think there were some students who made us adapt too. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. So, you know, of course, Posse is an amazing program that gives full tuition scholarships. And of course, this is an early decision program. So of course, those individuals that made us adapt to, we will continue to kind of get you prepared for that interview process as well. But this is amazing, congratulations. Colleges that meet full need. Everybody look in your packet. So in your packet, there are colleges that what we call colleges that meet full need, which basically means that when you, so let me back up. When you do your FAFSA, who knows when FAFSA opens? October what?
No, October 1st.
October 1st, that is correct. Your FAFSA opens on October 1st. That is the application that you have to do to secure your financial aid for college, right? And so when you do your FAFSA, they are going to kind of give you something called an expected, the EFC, which is an expected family contribution. This is all going to be based off of your parents' income, right? And so let's say, for example, your EFC comes back and says that you have to pay, or you're based on your FAFSA, your family can pay $500 or only $500 to go to college, right? Basically, when you look at your colleges that meet full need, they have the resources and the funding to be able to basically give you the rest of the money. So let's say, for example, if you look at that list of the colleges that meet full need, for example, University of Miami is a college that meets full need. If you apply to University of Miami and your EFC is 500 and University of Miami costs $75,000, a lot of people see that $75,000 and run away. But again, this is a school that meets full need. Basically, if you get admitted to an institution that meets full need and you're Pell eligible, paying for college is going to be the least of your worries. They are pretty much going to give you the funding to be able to afford that institution, right? So if there is an institution that you feel like that you want to do early decision for, these are primarily the schools that you may want to look at. If you have done the research though, and again, and only if it is going to be a fit for you. If it is not going to be a fit for you, then you have no business applying to that institution. Again, we want to make sure that we are setting you up for success, right? And again, fit is a big component of this college process. Okay, so those colleges that meet full need is part of this equation. So if you are, again, and most of the people in this room or all of the individuals in this room are competitive enough for these institutions. And so that's one of the things that we have when Mr. Logan and Amy pull you out individually to build your college list. That's part of the conversation to recommend possibly some of these schools that you may want to look into based off of some of the resources that they have. Okay? Goucher College. So Goucher College is an amazing liberal arts institution located in Baltimore, Maryland, right? And so the college actually entered into a partnership with Goucher College at the beginning of last year. And so when we went into the conversation about developing a partnership with them, we were just really trying to enter the conversation or start the conversation and think about support, you know, and really trying to get our students to persist in college, right? We did bring up the conversation about, of course, funding, right? And making it affordable. Lo and behold, on that call was the VP of Enrollment Management, and he just suggested, how about we give 2 college-aimed students full rides to Goucher College? Blown away, right? Because you don't see many opportunities that automatically give students full rides to institutions like this. So this is part of it. By you being college-aimed students, you have an opportunity to, of course, consider or be considered for a full ride scholarship at Goucher College. So in order to be eligible for this scholarship, you have to have at least a 3.5 or higher, and you must be Pell eligible. And you have to apply by the early action, non-binding, the early action deadline, which is December 1st, okay? So a lot of great programs are held at Goucher College, but again, you have to have the conversation. Is it going to be a fit for you? Is this the type of school that I'm looking for? But again, if you want to be considered for that applicant for that scholarship, again, you must have a 3.5 or higher. If you are a little bit below that, talk to Miss Amy, and then of course we may be able to slide that through, and the admissions people will read it. And of course you have to be Pell eligible. Your FAFSA will determine that, and of course you have to apply by the early action deadline. And so the way it works is that when all college-aimed students apply by the December 1st deadline, what will happen is the admissions committee at Goucher will basically read all the college-aimed applications, and then they will make the decision on who will be awarded the full ride scholarship to Goucher for 4 years. Okay, everybody understand that? So again, you got your 3-5. If you're Pell eligible and you apply by that December 1st deadline, you are going to be part of the running for one of those scholarships. Last year, they actually awarded it to 3. One of those was a Stone Mountain student, but he turned it down because he got impossible, which was, of course, early what? Decision, of course. Yes. Got 5? Ooh, okay. There we go. Thank you. All right, cool. Moving real quickly. So what does it take to be admitted into these institutions? And of course, you're going to hear this over and over and over again. But of course, we know, of course, a rigorous transcript. We want to make sure that you are not just, taking the easy courses, but of course, have you challenged yourself throughout high school? Did you take any dual enrollment as well as AP courses? So a rigorous transcript. A unique service or accomplishment makes you stand out in this process. So have you done any type of community service, whether it be inside the building or outside? That makes you stand out. Strong letters of recommendations. Please, please, please start thinking about who you are going to ask to be your letter of recommendation. Also, you have to be strategic about who you are asking. So let me give you an example. If you know that you are going to into college as a STEM major, right? Why would you get your history teacher to write a letter of recommendation? They want to hear from your math and what? Yeah, they want to hear from your math and science. Be strategic about who you are asking. Okay? So again, just be mindful of that. But now is the time for you to start thinking about that. Okay? Also, affiliations and connections with college, with the college. Did you attend any type of summer program? So let's, for example, if you want to go to UGA, did you do any kind of summer program with them? Did you do upper bound with them? All of those things make you stand out. Excellent ACC scores, depending on the institution. Exceptional talent or passion. So if you are, when we say exceptional talent, are you good at an instrument, vocally? Do you play a sport? All of those things make you stand out in the process. Confident personal interview. So a personal interview is not necessarily part of the admissions process, but if you know that you shine in an interview, by all means, it is going to be in your best interest to possibly request an interview. Because again, some people may shine well on paper, but may not do well in an interview per se. But if you get in front of some people and they gonna love you to death, by all means, please, please, please go ahead and schedule that interview, okay? Demonstrated interest, we're gonna talk about that in a second. We're talking about a very strategic application. That's what we're here for. And that's why we always tell students, do not submit anything without letting us look over it. Because we know what should be in certain aspects of your application and what should not be there. And that is why I tell my students, absolutely do not submit anything without letting me look over, okay? Same thing goes here. Demonstrated interest. Demonstrated interest basically talks a little bit about showing the institution why you're interested, right? So sometimes highly qualified students are rejected by admissions officers because they do not show enough special interest in the campus. How bad do you really want to be here? Okay? And so they are pretty much looking for that. And so there are things that you can do right now as a senior in high school that you should be doing, that you should have done already to make yourself stand out. So what we're going to talk about, and the flyer is actually in your packet, but one of the things is a college tour. If you have an opportunity to do a college tour, do it. We are no longer living in a space where it has to be a physical. We have virtual college. Every college in the United States has a virtual college tour option. Sign up for it. It's quick, it's easy. If you don't know how to do it, we are here to help you figure it out, okay? So try to take that opportunity because they are tracking who does these tours. So that allows you to stand out in the process. Next thing, if you have questions about the curriculum, or do you think it's going to be best to ask the admissions rep or someone in the department or professor? The professor, right? Because they are the ones teaching the curriculum. So if you can easily find their email where? On the what? On the website, right? So try to look them up, ask them a question about, if you have a question about the curriculum or something pertaining to what they teach, by all means, that's next. Read emails from the school, okay? How many of you have to go? Okay, all right. You can go. We'll share the information with you.
Yeah. And the class may be coming in.
Okay, I'm gonna finish up real quick. Read the emails from the school. Read your emails from the school. They can tell whether or not you open these things or not, okay? So if you know that you are highly interested in UCLA or UC Berkeley, if they send you an email, they can actually tell whether you clicked it and whether you opened it. They are tracking every single thing that you do, so be mindful of that. Next one, apply early. We talked about that. Attend webinars. If there's a webinar that they are hosting, by all means listen. Try to attend it if you can. Visit the website. Contact the admissions rep. So contact the admissions rep. For those of you that, how many of you have been to a college fair before? And that's up here, awesome. How many have been to a college fair? So 9 times out of 10, the individuals that you are speaking to behind those tables are the same individuals that will be reading your application to determine whether you're going to be admitted or not. So you always want to make sure that you are making a great impression with those individuals because it matters. The more they know your name, the better. Okay, it stands out. Next one, and the last one for demonstrated interest, following on social media. Now here's the thing about following on social media, because that's how colleges and admissions officers will let you know of updates, right? Here's the thing, now is the time for you to clean up your digital footprint. So we all know many of you probably have TikTok, you got Instagram, y'all generation probably don't have Facebook, but you got Twitter, right? If you know that you've probably been posting things that are inappropriate, that should not have been posted, now is the time for you to start going through all your social media and delete. Because you want to do that before these colleges start either follow you and see something that you probably shouldn't have posted. Because you don't, again, it will have an impact on your decision. Trust me, we've all seen it, okay? Financial planning, of course, FAFSA opens on October 1st. Also, for many other selective institutions, there is an additional financial aid form that you may be required to do. If it says required, please do it. The CSS profile opens the same day as the FAFSA. Here's the thing about CSS profile, and you want to do it. So I had a student a few years ago that got into NYU, great institution, right? NYU requires the CSS profile. Because the parent did not do the CSS profile, instead of him going, if he had done it, he would have gone to NYU for entirely free. But because the parent didn't do it, they would have to pay $70,000 a year. So see the benefits of doing what they ask you to do, right? So again, if an institution says that the CSS profile is required, you have to do it in order to get an award letter, okay? Additional scholarships, the Jack Kent Cook Scholarship opens on August 25th. The Gates Millennium opens on September 5th out of 15. You have to have a 3.0 or higher to do Gates. The Dell Scholarships opens on October the 1st, and you have to be a part of one of the member organizations. College Aim and Gear Up are both part of Dell Scholarship. The Coca-Cola Scholars Foundation opens on October 31st. And there's an additional scholarship engine that this is where I typically send most of my students. Now here's the thing, where a lot of students mess up in regards to looking for outside money is that they tend to only apply for the large scholarships. Don't do that. There are so many scholarships that are local that get overlooked year after year after year. And so, of course, we get notifications of those, but of course, you can do some scholarship searches on your own. This has typically been one of the best scholarship websites that I've found. It actually divides scholarships by month, by major, by region, so that's typically where I send a lot of my students in the past. What does this mean for you? Of course, we do not want to procrastinate. Your applications are typically going to be due much earlier than most of your peers, right? We're talking about either November 1, November 15th, or December 1. If you are trying to do early action for UGA and Georgia Tech, your early action is actually October 15th, okay? Now, again, that's both of those schools do require test scores. So if you do not have a strong set of test scores for UGA and Georgia Tech, have a conversation with Mr. Logan or Ms. Amy about whether or not you should do early action, okay? Next one, don't procrastinate. Things you need to start working on, of course, solidifying your college list. That's one of the reasons why we are having the conversations with you now, to really kind of bring exposure to many of the schools that are out there. But as soon as possible, you need to narrow down the list of schools that you are going to apply to. Start working on your Common App. Your essay is one of the biggest components of your college application. It can turn a yes into a no and a no into a yes. Please try to have your essay into Miss Amy no later than September the 30th. In your packet, you will see the Common App essay prompts. There are 7 prompts from you that you can choose from. Choose the one prompt that you feel that is going to allow you to share your best story. This is the only opportunity in your college application that is in your voice, because everything else on the college application is question and answer. But your essay is your voice and allows you to share your experiences. Everything else is pretty much question and answer. But this is the opportunity for the admissions people to learn a little bit more about you. Tell your story. Whatever you are comfortable in sharing, by all means do that. But we want you to get that into us as soon as possible, because we want to make sure that when you actually submit the application, it is a masterpiece, right? And you can't do that by submitting a rough draft or an essay to us at the last minute. Same thing Dr. Cox said. We need enough time to be able to review and edit these, okay? I already talked about asking for recommendations. Also be mindful of the number. Now, here's the thing. If the college, most of your colleges are going to either require 1 or 2 recommendations, I always advise you to ask 2 to 3. Teachers are human. Teachers are going to make mistakes. Teachers forget. Let's be real, okay? And so we don't want you to be held up in your college process because an adult forgot, right? So again, just go ahead and think about 2 to 3 teachers who you are going to ask to do your recommendations. Talk with your parents about FAFSA on October 1st. Be aware of your deadlines. That was just something about some of the students that we've worked with in the past that just kind of highlight, some of the schools that they got into. Like because we've been in this field for so long, we know where the money is, and we know that some of the schools that could be potentially really good matches and fit for you. So again, that's why we are having these conversations with you now, to really kind of bring exposure to some of these institutions. I could have done like 4 or 5 pages of this, but I stopped, okay? Final note, listen to your college counselor. That's what we're here for. Again, we know what we're talking about. So Mr. Logan, Ms. Amy, we know what we're doing. So if you have questions about anything, by all means, reach out to them. And I think that's it. Everybody here has done the intake form. Yep, that's it. Okay, thank you.
All right, y'all smile real quick. Smile real quick.
No, a picture real quick.
All right, smile like you don't hate this. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Good job, thank you.